As you know, on Sunday night or Monday morning of every week, we post a new expository semiotics explaining why we would choose which lectionary readings. But in these readings, our dream is, and our desire is, to help you read the signs and fondle the details and spot the seminal metaphors, the condensed signs and the stories that are key for preaching to a digital culture. So strap on your seatbelt and join us as we prospect our passages for today.
This is the 26th Sunday after Pentecost, the Reign of Christ Sunday, and the Sunday before we begin the Advent journey. It's been a mystery to me as to why the major gospel reading in these lectionary passages would be the story of Pontius Pilate and the greatest trial in human history. And yet, the more I thought about it during the week as I prepared for LenTalk number 88, I thought, this is perfect because we are just now coming into next week, the first Sunday in Advent, the story of the beginning of Jesus on earth. And to remind us the reason for his birth, we needed to be reminded of not the beginning, the ending, which the reason he came to have this beginning. So back to back, but the ending comes before the beginning. And the end of the story comes to remind us the reason for the story. So I've chosen this incredible passage from the 18th chapter of John. And I'm just going to read it to you real quick. Pilate then went back inside the palace, summoned Jesus, and asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" "Is that your own idea?" Jesus asked. "Or did others talk to you about me?" Now, notice once again, Jesus answers a question with a question. If you can get a straight answer from Jesus after a question, good luck. "Am I a Jew?" Pilate replied. "Your own people and chief priests handed you over to me. What is it you have done?" Jesus said, here's a key line that pivoted all of human history. "My kingdom is not of this world. If it were, my servants would fight to prevent my arrest by the Jewish leaders. But now my kingdom is from another place." "You are a king, then," said Pilate. Jesus answered, "You say that I am a king. In fact, the reason I was born and came into the world is to testify to the truth. Everyone on the side of truth listens to me." "What is truth?" retorted Pilate. With this, he went out again to the Jews gathered there and said, "I find no basis for a charge against him, but it is your custom for me to release to you one prisoner at the time of the Passover. Do you want me to release the King of the Jews?" And they shouted back, "No, not him. Give us Barabbas." The end of the trial, the jury, majority ruled, and majority ruled to crucify Jesus. By the way, find me one majority rule in the Bible where they ruled right. When is truth the voice of the majority, or most often the voice of the minority, even the critical mass? This phrase here, if we don't get this exchange right, and the nuances are missing in English, where "You're a king, then," said Pilate, and Jesus answered. Now, the way it comes off in English, "You say that I am a king." But the Greek here, and especially the Aramaic behind it, there's a translation of, is really not "you say," but "so you say," or "so you say." Or even more accurately, "You're right that I am a king, but only somewhat right, because my understanding of king is different from yours." And so that "you say" that I'm a king. In fact, the reason I was born and came into the world is to testify to the truth. Everyone on the side of truth listens to me. And then Pilate retorts with, so what is truth? This is the most famous trial in history. And it is one that is hard to understand. This exchange with Pilate especially. And I want to just give some acknowledgement to three people in particular that helped me understand throughout the course of my lifetime this story better than I would have ever could have without them. One is Chuck Smith Jr., a friend of mine who wrote back in the year 2000, The End of the World as We Know It. In chapter 6, he has an incredible section on Pontius Pilate. And I thank him for getting me to think all sorts of new thoughts about Pilate and the Pilate in me. And then there's this incredible book here, Paul L. Mayer. The book first came out, I think it was in like 68. This is the son of Walter A. Mayer, the founder of the Lutheran Hour, one of the greatest preachers of his day, celebrated, but the son became a scholar. And he wrote this Pontius Pilate, a biographical novel, that Dennis Feeney, who's the big wig professor of classics and Latin at Princeton, calls 4 chapters of it the greatest historical fiction ever written. And the research in this has been unbelievable. In fact, everybody here that has a name you can actually find in the historical record. If they go unnamed, that means that Meyer could not find a name for them and could not testify to their facticity. So it's called a historical fiction, but it's borderline historical fiction. I mean, he does come up with all sorts of dialogue, all that kind of stuff. But this is an incredible book of research and scholarship, and helped me understand Pilate in a whole new way. The third one, and this is the biggest one for me and the most theologically important, is David Lloyd Dusenberry's The Innocence of Pontius Pilate. Came out a year ago, a couple years ago, but he makes the case in this book that we get the very notion of secular, the very concept of secularity, from this one-line response of Jesus to Pilate, "My kingdom is not of this world." Up until this time, in human history, there is no division of sacred and secular. It's not found earlier than Christianity. It dominates after, but up until this time, up until that one line, "My kingdom is not of this world." So you have the emergence of the very notion of the sacred and the secular. But here, I mean, of the secular itself. My kingdom is not of this world, from this one book here. Now, the challenge for you and I, and as we deal with this whole story of Pontius Pilate and the story of the ending, before we get to the beginning of Jesus' story, what is Pontius Pilate doing in the Apostles' Creed? What in the world? Born of the Virgin Mary, suffered under Pontius Pilate. The only 2 names mentioned in the whole Apostles' Creed are Mary, the Mother of God, and Pontius Pilate. So what are you doing? What is Pilate doing in this statement of faith, this creedal formulation? And why is he that important? And what makes him that important? There's an Eastern European saying, when you barely squeeze by and make it in by the skin of your teeth, I made it in like Pilate made it into the creed. and just think for a minute the sheer craziness of what is Pilate doing in the core profession of Christian faith, and up there with the Virgin Mary. Why is he there for Christians to recite and remember? Why is it so important that we remember and recite his name? Now, some have said, well, you got to fix Jesus's trial and crucifixion in history, and so it's a fixing its historicity by chronology. The problem is then why Pilate and not Tiberius? Because every other place you attach a date by the name of the regnant ruler, And Pontius Pilate is a Roman prefect. He's not the ruler, the emperor. So John the Baptist starts his ministry. In the 15th year of the reign of Tiberius, Tacitus reports Jesus' crucifixion in his annals. During the rule of Tiberius, Justin Martyr states in the 2nd century that Jesus died in the times of Tiberius. So Tiberius is a more logical claim than Pilate is to being in the historical record, especially in the statement of our faith. So what in the world is he doing there? Well, I would say, well, it's also to show that Pilate, Jesus was killed not by Judean courts, but by Roman courts. And this is the whole essence of who killed Jesus. Was it the Romans or was it the Jews? And so our very faith itself establishes that it was the Roman courts, not the Judean courts, that killed Jesus. I think both of them may be true in some way, but I think there's another reason, and a couple more reasons, that it's important that we remember Pilate. And don't forget the absolute magnificence of the exchange that is happening here between Pilate and Jesus, and what it means for you and me today. And here are my reasons why Pontius Pilate is here in our statement of faith, our confession, the Apostles' Creed. Number one, the importance of truth is established and emphasized forever. This question that Pilate asks, what is truth, is the most important question that you and I will ever have to answer. It's like answering the question that Jesus asked to Peter, who do you say that I am? Except Pilate is asking this with Jesus, well, what is truth? While he's staring truth in the face. What is truth? And Pilate meets truth, stares truth down, and still doesn't get it. And notice that Jesus doesn't make a case for himself. He doesn't say, no, come on, I am the way, the truth, and the life. He just meets that question with silence. Now, there's some who say that I'm not getting this right, that this question of Pilate, what is truth, was more a jest. It was a jab at Jesus. Oh, well, what is truth? I have trouble, though. This question of what is truth is not a question to laugh at. It's a question to live by. And I mean, Pilate was known for his insults. He was known for his reputation. He had a reputation for cruelty. He was notorious for knocking people. And someone said, well, this is the only really jest in the Bible, what is truth, that as Pilate is jesting with Jesus. And from that, but Pilate doesn't send from a jest Jesus to die on a stake and a crossbeam atop a hill called Skull. I think there's something more going on here. And the more going on here is what is going on in each one of our lives, that we all have to come to a decision. Who do you say that I am? What is truth? Is Jesus the way, the life, the truth? Or do we respond with, who do you think you are? As we establish ourselves as the truth and take on all challengers. Who do you think you are? Who do we say that he is needs to replace who do you think you are in a post-truth world? This is another reason. I think this is the moment, the highest moment of Jesus' life, when he speaks truth to power. He's staring the power. Now, there was a higher power of Tiberius, but he's staring the highest power in his day in the face. And when the question is jabbed at him or asked of him, however you want to look at it, what is truth? And the person asking that question fails to see the eyes and mouth and visage of truth in front of him. What we have here is a whole other gospel, a gospel according to silence. It would be great for somebody to study the silences of Jesus. When does Jesus respond? Not with words, but with silence. And some of the greatest swords of the Spirit that pierce to the heart are silences. And what we can learn from Jesus' response of silence. Sometimes words, when they will only lead to more words, when words will only lead to more heat than light, sometimes words are best left off with silence. And then another reason, Pilate may have preached the first Christian sermon. I'm using Christian loosely here because Jesus didn't die to make us into Christians. Okay, Jesus didn't die to make us into a new kind of Christian. He's the last Adam who's on the cross showing us how to be the human, the original, as the last Adam, what the original Adam couldn't do, Jesus could do and did do, and shows us the full nature of what it means to be human as God created humans. You can't be human without the divine. So, but I'm using this more metaphorically here. This is the first, in the story of Christianity, Pilate may have preached the first Christian sermon. Maybe we need to take another look at that sign. The titulus is what it's called. Pilate placed above Jesus' head on the cross. Why this sign is missing from most images of the cross is a mystery to me, because it's a key part of the story, and it was a part of the cross itself. And Pilate dictates the inscription, which is affixed to Jesus' cross. We know that because he is challenged to change it. And he says, what I have written, I have written. And he refuses to change it. They wanted him to, the religious authorities wanted him to change it from Jesus, King of the Jews, to be a quote from Jesus saying, I am the King of the Jews. In other words, it's not a, I am the King of the Jews is a statement, a creed. A quote, I say, I am the King of the Jews, is a heresy. It's a blasphemy. And all four Gospels mention the titulus, the sign that tells you what the crime was for which they were committed. Mark 15:26, the King of the Judeans. Mark 27:38, this is Jesus, the King of the Judeans. Luke 23:38, this is the King of the Judeans. John 19:19, Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Judeans. And the Latin inscription, the Latin acronym INIR, Jesus of Nazareth, the King, Rex of the Judeans, Iudeans. Only John tells us that Pilate wrote the inscription, and the inscription was posted in Latin, the language of Roman law, in Greek, the lingua franca of the empire, and in Aramaic, which was Jesus' mother tongue. So the languages of the world, if you will, the Latin of Greek, the language of Greek, Latin, and Aramaic. I think there's been a big debate. Did Jesus even speak Greek? Are you kidding me? I mean, Greek was as ubiquitous in Jesus' day as English is in our world today. And what do you think Jesus talked to Pilate in? It wasn't Aramaic. Probably it wasn't Latin, most likely. Now, Pilate's base language is Latin, but he couldn't talk to anybody in Latin, or a lot of people there, because the basic lingua franca of Roman Palestine in the first century was Greek. And so his base language is Aramaic, like Pilate's is Latin, but they converse together in Greek. And I think out of that silence of Jesus is from the question of what is truth, and Jesus responding the way he did. Pilate delivers this sermon in all the global languages of his day, a truly global sermon for a global Messiah. Greek to the culture, Latin to politics, Hebrew to the world. It spoke to the world, Aramaic. And one more reason why I think we got Pilate in the Creed. Everyone knows a Pilate, and everyone is a Pilate. Well, I repeat, everyone knows a Pilate, and everyone is a Pilate. We all have things going on within us. We all have powers within us we don't know how to exercise, and when push comes to shove, we can buckle under pressure. We all know what is right, but often don't do it. What did Paul say? The evil that I would not I do, and the good that I would I do not. He even stares at the Son of God in the face and still can't bring himself to do the right thing. Every one of us is a Pilate. Everyone knows a Pilate. We have all done the same thing that Pilate has done. So I hope as we begin next week Advent and prepare for these wonderful stories of Jesus' coming, that we will remember the reason for which he came, which is for God so loved the world that God gave us God's only begotten Son, that whosoever believes on him should not perish, but have everlasting life. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, and we prepare for the coming of the truth.